Hi there everybody, it's Linnea for LDRS Creative with another product intro video for you using some new products from the Fall, Winter, and Holiday 2023 collection. In this video, I'm using the Oh Christmas Tree Impression Letterpress dies, and I'll also be using the Merry Christmas word dies for a sentiment on my card. Let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm starting with the new Oh Christmas Tree Impression Letterpress dies, and these Impression Letterpress dies are a new product for the LDRS Creative line. You want to use a letterpress platform with these dies. If you use these letterpress dies with your standard die cutting platform, you will damage your cutting machines. So you need to make sure that you are using a letterpress platform with your die cutting machines. I am using the Letterpress platform, and what you see me doing now is taking a piece of LDRS Creative watercolor paper. I love this watercolor paper with these impression letterpress dies because it is a more fibrous paper and it's thicker, which really allows these letterpress impression dies to press into the cardstock and give a really great impression. I have taken some low tack tape and taped that watercolor cardstock right onto those A2 tick mark lines on my Letterpress platform. I set that top plate aside, and now I'm working with the Oh Christmas Tree Impression Letterpress dies on the magnetic base of my Letterpress platform. I know that I want to have the tree with the star, and what I'm doing is using those grid lines to make sure that I am going to get this tree as centered as possible, both left to right and top to bottom. I'm using those center grid lines. That smaller box is an A2 card, the larger one is an A7. So I'm working within that grid line to make sure that I'm getting my tree centered. And once I have that done, I'm going to remove the star because I want the star to be yellow and the tree to be green. Once I have these impression letterpress dies placed, I'm going to grab an LDRS Creative hybrid ink pad, and I am using a dark green color. I'm using Evergreen, and I'm going to just take this ink pad and lightly tap onto this tree. The base is magnetic, so this die won't shift unless you're pressing really hard. So I just kind of give it a quick tap, tap, tap over the top, and you'll see when I move the ink pad up and down that you can easily see where the ink has grabbed onto that impression letterpress die, so you're going to be able to tell if you have this whole die inked and where you may need to go in and add a little bit more ink. You don't want to press too hard because then you'll get globs of ink. You just kind of tap over the whole surface, making sure you have nice even coverage. Once I do, I'm going to take that top plate and I'll flip it upside down so that the paper that I have taped onto that top acrylic plate is going to touch my ink, and then I will run this Letterpress platform through my die cutting machine. So again, I do want to reiterate that I am using my regular die cutting machine, but I am not using the plates that come with the machine. I am using a specialized Letterpress platform, and the platform that I'm using is the Letterpress platform. Here we go, I've run that through, and now I'm going to take it off and check this out. I have impressed that evergreen ink into my watercolor cardstock, and it just looks so beautiful. I love it. I'm going to keep that tree in place, line up the star where I think it needs to go, and then I will ink that up with some dandelion ink. Again, I'm just taking just a little corner of my ink pad, and I'm just going to tap that onto that star. The star is very small, and so since there's less surface area, it's more likely to move, so you want to be careful when you're inking that up. I'm just going to tap that on until I think that star is completely covered, and then I will take my top plate, flip that over, and run that through my die cutting machine again. Now I should mention that those 4 magnets do have a little bit of wiggle room, so you'll see when I remove my panel that the star is not exactly perfect. I think that's okay. This is a handmade card. Anybody who you gift this card to is going to know that you've made it by hand, and even though you may see a small imperfection, I guarantee you they're not going to see it, especially since they know that you made this with love. It's not really going to matter. I'm going to hold this up here and kind of shift it left to right so you can see in the camera as best as you can that this is impressed into this watercolor cardstock. It's very hard to capture on camera, but when you use these dies in real life, you're going to see where there is ink that is pressed down into the cardstock. And where there's white, it's kind of raised up a little bit because of that impression being pressed down in. So you get a lot of 3D, just gorgeous texture here. I'm going to go ahead and embellish this Oh Christmas Tree impression a little bit. You can skip this step if you want to. You don't have to do it. But I grabbed one of my alcohol markers, no blending or anything. I just grabbed one single marker, and I grabbed a red because I'm going traditional colors here. And I'm just going to color in where that garland is going across the tree. So just starting in the center and just kind of adding a little bit of marker color here. Now remember, this is watercolor cardstock, which is more fibrous than your traditional cardstock that you would usually color with alcohol markers on. So your color may wick away from where you put it. So I start in the center of each of those little circles and just kind of let the ink flow, and it'll fill up that whole circle. Then I went ahead and I spattered on some gold shimmer watercolor all over my panel. All that's left is to add a sentiment. And for that, I'm using the new Merry Christmas word dies. I have another set of sentiment dies also included in my stamp pocket there. I'm using the Merry Christmas word dies, and I just cut those words from gold shimmer or a gold foil cardstock. And I cut a backer from vellum just to help that stand out a little bit. And then I'm going to arrange that on my card with the Merry shifted slightly to the right and the Christmas shifted slightly left. And I'll glue that on and add that onto a matching gold foiled card base. And this card is finished. I hope you guys love these impression letterpress dies as much as I do. These products will be available in the LDRS Creative store Monday, September 11th at 8 a.m. I'll see you later. Bye!